Pod.
Rugby Pod.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Rugby Pod, an international edition of the Rugby Pod. We are worldwide, wide. Well, we are. Rob ain't, he's in his mum's bedroom again, but we're spread across the globe and we're still here to give you the best in rugby podcasting. Rob said that, not me. We've got our friend Mr. Dan Biggar dialing in from the south of France, where I'm going to say it looked hot, but it didn't at the weekend. It looked windy and rainy. My long-standing partner is somewhere hot. Of course, it's the great Andrew Goode. And if you follow the social media, kids, I hope you sleep in business class on the way to the United Arab.
I was tired.
Oh my gosh, the United Arab Emirates to be official. Girls, make sure you sleep with your iPads in business class. But anyway, I myself, Jim Hamilton, am holding the fort in Austin, Texas. And I mentioned we are worldwide, wide. And Rob is in Stockton-upon-Tees.
Oh my word, James, there's loads of ruggers to be talking about this weekend. We're talking teams taking 50. Ravo's arms. There's a couple of those knocking around. More clubs in Wales in trouble. Well, basically Cardiff are going bust or in administration. So Biggs is going to talk to us about how we fix that. We're talking about Biggs. He's retired. We're going to get the lowdown on Dan Biggar's retirement. We're also going to be talking about fly halves putting Chopsy kids back in their box, although the chief Chopsy kid, Henry's Pollock, played pretty well as well. So settle back. Daniel, over to you.
Settle back, enjoy, and make sure you subscribe on Spotify.
Rob, talk to me about the stress levels of sorting out us cattle all over the world. It's actually quite good that you can do it. If anyone saw behind the scenes and saw the rap on the wrist that our producer Rob got for recording the number one rugby podcast from his mum's bedroom 2 weeks ago, are you stressed, Rob, or not? Your hair's falling out, like you've got mange. What's going on?
I've got no fucking hair left. That's why. I had an afro before I started here.
I actually said you looked a bit younger, Rob, when I first came on, didn't I? But obviously, you've had a stressful week off Fred.
That was before Jim started shouting at me, yeah. It's because the sun's been out, lads. That's what it is.
Hang on, Rob. Let's get this right. Have I shouted at anyone or not? My look. I have a look of shout, but I haven't shouted.
Yeah, it was tense. There was a couple of tense moments there where the ADHD was kicking off. The computer wasn't working.
Straight on the defensive, James. Rob's defending. Everyone's on the defensive. I'm happy. I'm out in Dubai. Listen, we are doing our podcast from all corners of the globe. That's commitment, lads. Basically, Rob, as we've said, he's at home doing nothing. Jim's in Texas. Biggs is in the south of France. I'm in Dubai. We're just here for the people, lads. We are here producing for the people. So let's talk ruggers.
Before we talk about the ruggers at the weekend, let's talk a couple of things: the people, the stress, and the great Daniel Biggar, who's retired. Because them three things last week has formed what we see this week. Because I've never seen producer Rob Rogan work so hard, right? So we've been doing this podcast for 9 years, right? Okay. And then your retirement comes last week, and there was whispers, and like it wasn't, oh my god, like it's a shock, but it's great that we want to celebrate the great Daniel Biggar's career, and we should do so. The Rugby Pod has never worked so hard last week on edits, on getting highlight reels, all the producers, one producer and two interns who we're not paying because Rob's stingy and doesn't want to give up any of his salary. Rob, no wonder you're stressed, mate, because you love Dan Biggar.
I've never heard anything like this.
I needed a bit of a boost from Rob, lads. It's been a difficult year, so I needed a bit of a boost from Rob over the last sort of 7 or 10 days. So much appreciated, Rob.
Can we clear this up? Are you sending Rob the clips, or is Rob going, Biggs, I've got another one. I've got another one I need to put out. What about this one?
Yeah, that is a bit more like that, Goody. Yeah, he just keeps sending them. It's like I wake up in the morning sometimes and he's just sending me clips of like 2015 World Cup and things. So
there you go. Rob, you need to grow up. Rob, just grow up, Rob.
Goody, let's get this right. So Rob is actually, it's Goody. Your name's C2, so people who can't see it, this is how budget we are. Your name's not even Andrew Goode, it's C2 Stren Viarson. Where the hell are you, Andrew? Are you in the gymnastics establishment in Dubai?
I'm not in a gymnastics establishment, but I've got to give a massive shout out to Gym Nation here in Dubai. I am in their podcasting studios, and I am, wow. There's a gym in front of me and I'm just seeing there's loads of sites. I might as well be in the gymnastics establishment with what I'm seeing, but I'm loving life, boys. I've done a bit of work. I've flown out to Dubai. I've got sunburn already on day one and I'm with my mates podcasting. So what's better? What could be better in the world?
There's nothing better. Well, rinsing Rob, and this is the way that we go, because you're still in the environment, right? And it's one of them where we're going to talk you up and talk your career up and stuff, but it's always about bringing people down before you bring them back up. I don't know whether or not it's a sport thing, if it's a rugby thing, if it's a man thing, but let me just finish this line on Rob, because if he's going back to 2015, which seems like it wasn't a long time ago, it was 10 years ago, he's sifting through 10 years of archive footage, right? And we're saying, Rob, have you done the running sheet for the pod? Is this stats right? And he's like, I don't know. So the commitment to the great Daniel Biggar, and rightly so, mate, let's just get it out there. 112 caps for Wales, 2 British and Irish Lions tours. The Lions ain't that big anyway, but it don't matter. 6 Nations titles, Grand Slams, Rugby World Cup semi-finals. You've done it all, Biggs. Do you feel like you've done it all? When it's all said and done now, your reflections, do you feel like you've done it all? Is there anything you've left out on the chopping table?
Yeah, when you say it like that, it sounds quite good, Jim. But I think you know what it's like, and Goody, you know, it's the same. It's always sort of what you didn't do. It always has a little bit of regret. You know what I mean? I was gutted to miss out in 2013 on the tour to Australia after winning the Six Nations.
So was Jim.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know how you feel, Jim. I know how you feel. That was tough, and it was hard not to take that personally. So that was difficult. I would have loved to have been able to sort of been at Saints when they got over the line in the Prem. You know what I mean? That would have been something. I felt like we had some really solid foundations there, loads of really good players. But I think generally, when I look back at it, I think it's hard when when you're in it or properly in it. It's hard to sort of see the wood from the trees a little bit. But I think when I reflect, and off the back of last week, when you look at sort of maybe some of the achievements and some of the matches and trophies and things like that, I think I don't think I would have changed a huge amount, if I'm honest, Jim. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned the Lions in 2013. You mentioned Saints basically won it because you left Biggs. That's what Jim said anyway. He wanted me to say that. I'm joking, of course. That's what we do, though.
That's what we're saying. We've got to keep people grounded on this show.
Yeah. But like internationally, obviously, the honours were pretty regular with Wales, weren't they? Obviously, Grand Slams, Six Nations titles, etc., etc. And everyone can say, "Oh, I would love to have won a World Cup." There's one Northern Hemisphere team that's won a World Cup since the start of the competition, so it's not easy from a Northern Hemisphere perspective to win it. But at club level, obviously, you were great at the Ospreys, Northampton, and then moving over to Toulon as well. You seem to be defined as internationally, right? And this is maybe an Englishman looking from the outside in at the Wales thing. A lot was driven about playing for Wales, but
I agree with you, Andrew. Yeah, I agree with you. I see Biggs, I see Wales. That's what I saw, with all due respect. Yeah.
And ultimately, it's kind of weird because there's me and Jim who won loads of domestic competitions, but won fuck all at international level as well. So we're all polar opposites, right?
I got to be honest with Goody. I think, like, for me, my spell at the Ospreys was really good. I think, like, when somebody said, like, you have to pick a really special moment, like we beat Leinster in 2010 in the Magners League final. We beat Leinster in 2012 in the same final. And that 2012 final in particular for me was probably up there with one of the best moments of my career, because Leinster, I don't know if you remember, they just absolutely dismantled Ulster in the Heineken Cup final the week before, the Champions Cup final the week before. I remember it came out in the week that they were going to put their party celebrations on hold because they wanted to do the double the week after, etc. And like, when I look through that team now, you got like Carney, Rob Kearney, Darcy, O'Driscoll, Sexton, Redden, McFadden, Jennings, Heaslip, Toner, Leo Cullen, Mike, like all those. Brad Thorne was on the bench. And I suppose to win that day, I think it was 31-30 and knocked over a conversion to win it at the death. And I think when I look back, I think looking at what that team represented, that Leinster team, to go there and win 2 out of 3 years was pretty special. And we always used to make a bit of a joke about it because Brad Thorne had won he was on like the World Cup, State of Origin, Champions Cup, Tri-Nations, etc., etc. And we said, well, he didn't win the fucking Pro 12, boys. I'll show you that. We stopped him winning the Pro 12. So yeah. But I agree. I think probably you look at that sort of 10-year period, 12-year period I played for Wales. We were very lucky to be successful and a real golden age of players and generation. But I'll be honest with you, I think I probably would have swapped probably a certain number of caps or maybe a Six Nations for maybe another maybe a premiership. I think with Saints at that time, I loved my time at Saints, and I think probably if I had the chance, I may well swap one out or some caps for a Premiership.
Biggs, one thing that sticks out for me, and I had this when I retired and got into this podcasting world, and I'm not drawing comparisons between me and you, but just hear me out on this, was the way you conducted yourself on the pitch. So I was fighting, I was kind of this aggressive kind of player, which I've spoken about before. I do have that in me, but like you listen to the podcast, I'm the polar opposite of what you maybe thought I was. So you've
been shouting at Rob, mate. You've been shouting at Rob all
no, with my eyes. Look, I have now evolved. I've matured. I didn't shout once. I just looked at him through the eyes. But Biggs, you played like that. One thing that sticks out is that you were a fierce warrior. You were a competitor, but you had almost like that Owen Farrell snarl where you were chewing a wasp, and you had a bit of not arrogance, but I suppose you look like you're pissed off a lot of the time because it meant so much to you. Are you like that in your everyday life? Do you have that in you, or is that the warrior that stepped over the line? And if so, if it is in you, like how are you going to deal with that after? Have you thought about these things?
Yeah, do you know what, Jim? That's almost the biggest compliment you can give me, really, is that I was aggressive, confrontational, fighting for everything, almost like horrible and difficult to play against. And with some of you, some of your team, might have said. But I just think, like, for me, if someone said, how do you want to be remembered? And this is something I've thought a little bit about. And I thought, like, I would want to be remembered. Yes, you want to be regarded as a winner and being a good player, et cetera, et cetera. But if someone said to me, you could be remembered for having flashes of brilliance and moments of brilliance and skill, et cetera, or someone who fights for every blade of grass on the pitch, whether you're playing in the Magners League or for the Lions or Wales or whatever, and competitive every day in training, really difficult, winning streak in you, like that. Those are all the things that I want people to be. And even sometimes when it sometimes stepped over the line, I think even then I'd be like, okay, well, I know that that's not me when I go home and speak to my wife and the kids, or I go and speak to my mates.
You're not allowed to go home.
I'm certainly not the boss in my house, that's for sure. But do you know what I mean? Like I know that's not me, so I know that's only the only reason I was like that, and perhaps sometimes maybe why Owen and Johnny Sexton are a little bit framed like that, was because they were so desperate to win and hated losing and hated settling for second best, etc., etc. So. Did I get it right all the time, Jim? No, absolutely not. And would there be things which you may change? Quite possibly. But I think when I look back, I think if I hadn't been that person, I would never have achieved what I'd achieved either, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you what's interesting, and Jim and I might have a different kind of take on this. Obviously I'd played against you a little bit and, seen you play and all this stuff, and it is confrontational as a 10, and you're confrontational to your own teammates because you want the best out of every player, right? And it's similar to Owen Farrell kind of thing. But I always used to look at Richard Cockrell, right, who was a similar kind of fierce, driven character, especially when he was coaching. And he'd come in and he'd be the angriest bloke around, wouldn't he? Like, angry little man. And we'd be like, he'd walk in, he'd be shouting at us all, telling us we're all shit. And we'd be like, he's definitely getting absolutely owned at home. Like, his missus might have pegged him last night or something, or just like giving him so much stick that he's coming in and taking it out on us. And you just said it then, I'm not like that at home. We all get through, walk through the doors at home. We know that we just have to be different people, right? That's how I am with the podcasting, the live shows and all that. I go home, I just sit there and nod and get owned by about 4 women in my life. But mate, it's different characters, isn't it? On going to work mode and then at home with the family mode.
I think as well, Goody, like the generation that, look, I think we all know that the world, let alone rugby, is very different now to what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And even further for perhaps for you guys. But like the environment that I came into, I had, guys like Mike Phillips, Gethin Jenkins, Adam Jones, out and out winners, and been there, done it, seen the t-shirt, old school sort of thing. And they were the ones who were driving the standards. And I was just trying to catch up to that. And you think of like me, maybe, demanding standards from my own players and having some confrontation with my own players. But like, that's what I was brought up with. That's what I came into a group with, and that was brilliant for me. Like, I didn't shirk that 1%. That's what I wanted. That's what I needed. And I was held to account. If my kicking game wasn't up to scratch, Gethin Jenkins be the first one. I mean, from a tight head prop, from a loose head prop, giving me kicking advice, I'm not quite sure I'd take it. But from an out and out winner's point of view and a competitive point of view, he was nothing short of brilliant. And I think for me, that's just sort of set the stall out for me that I wasn't going to have this arm round the shoulder, mollycoddled sort of thing. And clearly times have changed. The game's changed now. But for me, I still think like confrontation in the workplace, that's what it's about, sort of thing. Especially in the game that we play, on the field, in the moment, that's kind of where it's at. So 100% agree. When I'm off the field, or if I'm doing this, or speaking to people at events, or speaking to fans afterwards, I'd like to think I'm very, very different to what you see for 80 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. But I think I'd like to think as well. I think like that's what it should be. You should be somebody different when you step on the whitewash over the white line for 80 minutes on a Saturday compared to what you are at home.
So we can be confrontational with Rob. There, Biggs has said it, and Biggs is the modern man.
You told Rob.
So I'll go on, keep going, Biggs. I'll take that.
I did also find, sometimes when like maybe when you had crossed the line a little bit and you'd gone a little bit OTT, and then the next week someone said, "Oh, you need to calm down." You just stay nice and calm. And I found my performance was nowhere near the level. I had to be right on the edge to get a performance out of me. And people were saying, "Oh, we need our 10s to be cool, calm, collective." And like for me, that wasn't the case. If I was sort of rowing my own teammates, rowing with the opposition, rowing with the ref, rowing with the opposition fans, like for me, that was when I was a much, much better player. But like I said, I think hopefully it always helps when you've had some decent success to back that up, which luckily I was able to in a very good team. So, but yeah, it's a different part of the career now, and I'm looking forward to it. I got loads going on after finishing, and just looking forward to it, to be honest, lads.
I've been doing a bit of digging, lads. So I gave a shout out to our friends at Opta. Shout out Ben and the lads there, because I wanted to know if you boys had ever played against Biggs in his career.
Or if he'd ever played against us, if he remembers us.
Well, it turns out Goodey never played against him, but Jim, you did 4 times.
I never played against Biggs.
Nope. Never.
Ospreys Leicester. What year were you at?
You'd gone chasing the coin by that stage, Goody, when I came through, mate.
Wow, okay.
So, Jimmy, you had 4 games.
Yeah, I reckon I played against Biggs when I was at Edinburgh and beat the Ospreys down there.
And do you remember what happened?
I scored a try for us to win the game, and Edinburgh, we got a bumper bonus, and I ran over Dan Biggar from about 30 metres. I might have added that bit on. That's right, is that one game?
In the 80th minute, yep.
Yeah, I scored a try, mate. I remember that. We got a mega bonus off the back of that. It's not about money, but I mean, that's all it was at Edinburgh, because we didn't get rewarded for anything else.
350 Scottish pounds, was it? Was it 350 Scottish pounds?
Mate, it was a few. Genuinely, I'll tell you offline, it was ridiculous. So I think if we finished top 2 or something, it was like a decent percentage of either. I'll tell you offline, but it was a decent bonus. So thank you, Biggs, for that.
You're welcome, Jim. You're welcome.
You were defending at guard. I remember it like it was yesterday. Which other ones, Rob? There would have been a couple of Wales games.
There's 3 Wales games. One in 2013, which was 18-28 to Wales. One in 2014, which was 51-3 to Wales.
Oh, 51-3.
How shit were you, Jim?
Yeah, that was the game that they had Did Scotland have a red card?
Jeff Cross. Yes. Jeffrey Bungle. Up and under, took out Lee Byrne in the air.
No, that wouldn't have been that, would it? 2014. 2014 was where Stuart Hogg got a red card, wasn't it?
Can't remember. So many games.
Yeah. Sweep that one under the carpet.
Leave that one be, Jim, yeah?
And the last one was 2015, Six Nations. It was quite close, this one. It was 23-26 at Murrayfield.
Oh, there you go.
You boys scored right on full time, or nearly on full time, and I think the conversion went over like right on a second to go or something. And I think they blew up with maybe a little bit early. So
of course they did. Of course they did.
Cheated. Yeah.
Well, we got done by the ref again. I mean, so it actually breaks my heart to hear that bit, because I don't remember games that well, but I remember that instant now that you're saying, and that was a story. Anyway, it's not about me; it's about you, Biggs. But that was the story of the Scotland generation of then. So we would have won that game if the referee was different.
100%.
Is what I'm saying. But Biggs, we'll finish off with this, mate. Congrats on a great career. It's
Cheers,
brilliant
lads. Appreciate it.
to have been part of that journey the last few months.
And thanks for welcoming, like you said, thanks for welcoming me in here as well. It's been awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, mate.
Right, lads, so should we chat some Champions Cup ruggers? Investec Champions Cup, quarter-final time, couple of hammerings, couple of decent games, but the best teams are in the semis, aren't they? Where do we start? Let's go Friday night, Jim. Your Scottish team, Glasgow. Oh, my skiddy marks.
Oh, my word. I mean, it wasn't a Quins, and I say that being a bit facetious because I'm getting a hammering online about Harlequins and my comments last week. I can't remember what I said. I can't remember what I said, but I know that they got hammered, but it was still a 52 points to 0. And I think I said last week, Biggs and Andrew, that Glasgow will fire a shot. Yeah, they didn't fire a shot. They didn't even bring a weapon. So what do you say?
They were missing. I mean, they were missing loads of players. Leinster on fire. Jordie Barrett was like up there with the best players in the world in terms of how he's performing, and that might be a massive statement. But you show me a better man that can play that way at that level at 12. And fitting in seamlessly since he's come over. And I felt for Glasgow and Franco Smith because you lose Zander Fagerson as well before the game. You haven't got probably 6 or 7 Scottish internationals, have you really? And your best players. And you go in and play in Leinster, who are fully loaded with R.G. Snyman, with Jordie Barrett, all the Ireland internationals. And yes, they rotated a few. I know Caelan Doris is on the bench, but it's, as Franco Smith said, it's an international team. They've lost to an international team, which, is a fair comment. Plus, you've got 2 of the best players in the world that aren't Irish in Jordie Barrett and R.G. Snyman. And I had a little pop at Luke Pearce, who was obviously referee. And I thought Glasgow were hard done by with the penalty try. Yellow card, yes, but penalty try, which opened the gates to 2 or 3 other tries. And it was 99 no biscuit by that point. But where Hastings has slapped the ball down, Staffy McDowell is coming across and is going to end whoever's on the inside. And, likelihood is to give a penalty try, you have to be convinced that a try was going to be scored. And, I've said it to Luke Pearce privately over message. I sent him some voice notes and he's messaged me back at half time as well. But, the best team won by far. And, Leinster were, if they don't win it this year, lads, just hang up the jerseys, hang up the boots and walk out because you are the best team by far at the minute.
Do you know what I found that like Leinster, they're a complete team, Goody, aren't they? They can hurt you in every way defensively. Like defensively, they were almost as impressive, and that to keep Glasgow. I know they're missing loads of players, but the way Glasgow play as well, they just stifled them, didn't give them a sniff. And I saw. I think it was Danny Kerr said like Leinster are a better team than Ireland, and I was saying, well, it's basically Ireland minus Tadhg and Bundyaki, and the people you're bringing in for Tadhg and Bundyaki are R.G. Snyman and Jordie Barrett, and you're just like, well, yes, they've got the players, yes, they've got the finances, but I think what they don't probably get talked about as much is, like, for me, the better quality player you are, the better coaching you need, and they haven't got your sort of second, third rate coaches in there. They've got the best of the best. They've got a double World Cup winner. They've got Robin McBride in there, who was part of that sort of 10-year golden generation for Wales as forwards coach. They've got Sean O'Brien on the books there. They've got Tyler Blaendal, who's a really sort of good attack coach and sort of skills coach. And Leo Cullen, who knows the club inside out. So he knows, okay, well, we've been short in this area and this area. Let's go and get the best. So like they're not just targeting the best crowds, the best stadiums, the best players. For me, the better player you are, and the best players need the best coaches, and that's what Leinster have got. And like you said, they've been so close over the last 3 years, and they've only lost to La Rochelle and Toulouse, mind. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're getting mugged off by a Glasgow, by a Leicester, or whatever. But I think they deserve huge amounts of credit for putting something so awesome together that their coaches, they just look incredible. They're an incredible team to watch, aren't they?
Yeah, and the thing is for me with this, and some Leinster fans feel as if I'm negative when I talk about the money side of things. If you were to lay both teams out on paper going into the game, then Leinster should win by 50 points, which they did, right? And that is me saying it from a jealousy point of view, from like a Scottish perspective. I'm not a Glasgow fan, I'm an Edinburgh fan, but obviously I want Glasgow to do well because I'm Scotland till I die. But genuinely, I love the fact that you've got a team like Leinster and you've got a team like Toulouse and you have teams that want to invest in their squads, right? And we spoke about it at the end of last season. We spoke about it at the beginning of this season. Like, what does success look like for Leinster? Well, they need to win the Champions Cup. With the squad that they've got with RG Snyman and with Jordie Barrett, they need to win the Champions Cup because if they get to another final and lose, and look, you know, whatever final they're in, it's going to be close because all the finals are close. But bringing in a player like Jordie Barrett, we said it at the beginning of the season, and when he got announced that he was coming for a 6-month sabbatical, he holds the keys because he has a different perspective for the game. He is a world-class talent. I think he's got 68 caps for the All Blacks. Like, he is in his prime. He hasn't been injured, and if he stays fit and RG Snyman stay fit, whether or not RG's on the bench or whether he starts, not just the power that RG brings, but the abilities that Jordie Barrett, and you saw that at the weekend. The question marks before the game was, does Jordie Barrett start or does Robbie Henshaw start? And I know they made a couple of changes with Doris on the bench and Andrew Porter on the bench, but you just saw that extra quality and that different kind of influence at the line with the offloading. So when they are going to be playing against a Toulouse, let's say, in the final, and this is me foreseeing that they beat Northampton, which they will, and they play Toulouse in the final, which we think might be the case again, that you have a player like Jordie Barrett, who at the line was absolutely sensational. And the one thing is on this, and Biggs, I'll come to you on this because you're just retiring now and maybe give us an idea, having played for Wales in these big games. The one Achilles heel that Leinster have is the fact that they're hammering teams in the lead up to get to a final. Whereas Toulouse, with the game against Toulon, there was a bit of squeaky bum time. They had to dig into the well. They had to go a little bit deeper. They had to miss kicks to then make big kicks with Thomas Ramos. Leinster walk to this final, right? And I say that with all due respect to Northampton, okay? And Northampton, you can pin up this podcast, you can clip it up and use it as motivation. Leinster are beating you comfortably. They just are. And I say that with all due respect, please. But Leinster beat you comfortably, right? And I hope Northampton fire a shot. Does that benefit Leinster in a final, having put 60-odd points on Quins, 50-odd points on Glasgow, and if they do have a comfortable win against Northampton, you walk into that final, and then you're going to have a game which is your toughest game you've had since the final 12 months ago.
I have to say though, Jim, this Leinster team look a slightly different team. To you even look at the say that you go back 12 months ago to the semi-final against Saints, and they looked like they were just getting over the line, weren't they? You know, Northampton did fire a shot that day and they were lucky not to come out with the result at the end. I just think at this stage of the tournament, it's almost a little bit like you said, you're almost beating teams before a ball's been kicked. And I think, yes, when you play Bordeaux or Toulouse and likely to be the final, it won't be as easy as that. And they'll have to go to the well and they'll have to dig deep. But that's exactly the reason why they've signed RG Snyman, why they've signed Jack Neeewwws, why they've signed Jordie Barrett. So that when it gets to that, you look at the 2-3 years ago, they lost to La Rochelle in the last play of the game. The year after that, they lost to La Rochelle again in Dublin, where they were pressing for a score at the end of a game and couldn't quite get over the line. And then they lost to Toulouse in extra time last year. So when you sign your RG Snymans, your Jordie Barretts, yes, you want them to have big moments from the start, like you did, like Jordie Barrett did, like RG Snyman did on Friday night. But you're desperate to have Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Barrett, Snyman, James Ryan, these guys, McCarthy. You want those boys fresh and firing and ready to go in that last 20 minutes when it is going to be a lot tighter against Toulouse, against Northampton. So I think from my point of view, they're in such a good space, attack both sides of the ball, that I'm not sure it matters, Jim, if I'm honest, that they're winning comfortably, because they're playing so well. And if they were just winning 25-0 or something, but they're putting teams to the sword. They're not resting on their laurels. They're hungry and they're going for the kill this year.
The only thing I'll say on it is we'll only know we expect them to get to the final, right? So we'll only know their mental capacity and any scarring from losing 3 finals on the spin in the manner that they have as well, at the death, in extra time, that sort of thing, when they get there. And, without Dupont, Toulouse are a different team, so they're not nowhere near as good as and as threatening as we've seen them. So everything is pointing towards a Leinster victory. But, you never know mentally what's going on in players' heads when you get to the final. But talk about Jordie Barrett. Some of his stats are ridiculous from the game. 15 carries, which was joint most with Caleb Doris, who came off the bench. 17 passes, only Jameson Gibson Park and Sam Prendergast made more. 4 offloads, 14 tackles. There was only Caelan Doris who made more with 17. Jacqueline, his kicking game, the whole lot, covering the backfield, and he got 3 turnovers. So you talk about complete players, both sides of the ball. Jordie Barrett's your man.
Sam Prendergast had an armchair ride with him. I mean, clearly the pack provided a huge platform, but I was watching the game and I was just looking at how vocal he was, how many times he touched the ball, and like Sam Prendergast looked as if he'd hardly played any minutes by the time he came off. You know what I mean? Like it was just having him outside you, and then having Robbie Henshaw come on, and then having Gary Ringrose pop up. You know what I mean? Like an extra pair of hands, a brilliant voice, and that's what any 10 needs. If you've got a 12 who wants the ball, can feed communication, see where the space is, has a 10 who's a good player, all you've got to do is execute your role. And that's what Jordie Barrett looked like. He gave Prendergast on the weekend.
Yeah, Biggs, quick question to you as you're on this week. I tweeted about it on watching the game on Friday night. Prendergast goes on the Lions tour in that form. And I know people are saying he plays for Leinster, he had an armchair ride. Dan Biggar, British and Irish Lion, across 2 tours. Are you taking Sam Prendergast on the Lions tour this summer?
I think it's a toss-up between him and Finn Smith, and I think in a game in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have a big say in it. But I think, given that he knows the system so well, given that he's going to be playing with a lot of Irish players likely on that tour with the Irish coaches, and it looks as if he's going to be getting Leinster into some big matches, I think I like Sam Prendergast. I like what he brings, and I think he will go on tour, yeah.
Well, the 2 players we have been speaking about, Sam Prendergast, and Rob did a brilliant reel on him, and Henry Pollock the other week as well, about him being a bolter. And people are like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. Well, Henry Pollock, the pantomime villain, carved up again at the weekend, and we have to talk Northampton up. I might have spoken down about them, saying that it's a foregone conclusion against Leinster. I want to see Northampton fire a few shots, but you can only go based on the weekend's game, that they are good. And they haven't been great in the Premiership, but for whatever reason, this tournament has been good to them. Their forwards rocked up at the weekend. 51, a Ravo's arm against Castra, who got 16 points at the weekend. But for me, and I'm happy to say it because I know it's a team sport, but it felt like it was the Henry Pollock show. Andrew Goode?
Yeah, I mean, I was commentating on it for Premier Sports, and there's obviously this narrative around Henry Pollock. It wasn't the Henry Pollock show. He got 2 tries off the back of Alex Mitchell doing all the graft, and they were easy run-ins. So
and big social numbers, though. He got the social interactions.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're here to analyse the game. He played well, but he wasn't the standout player by any means. You look at Kemeny in the back row, I thought was really good at 6. I thought Alex Coles in the second row was really good. These are players that just no one talks about, right? Because everyone's talking about Henry Pollock. Yes, he scored 2 tries, but being honest, James.
Yes. No.
You could have scored both of them. You could have scored both of them.
Andrew, actually, thank you. I was going to be negative towards you. You say that, though, but that's the old school man in you. And I reckon Biggs might be a little bit like you as well, a little bit old school. I actually like the fact that we're talking about Henry Pollock and that you're putting me in my box. Yeah, but the thing is, it's like you think of like other right, and I don't want to talk about basketball or LeBron James, but I'm good on this point because I don't know enough players. But when like the Lakers or the Cleveland team played when he was playing, you had all the players doing the bits in behind, and he'd maybe take the last shot or he'd do something that stands out. That's what we're starting to see with this kid. The fact that I've even opened the show off mentioning it because my subconscious tells me that he's had a blinder because I've seen him do Like, I don't even know what the celebration was when he's punched the ball. I mean, I would have exploded the ball if I did that. I was that strong with pride. But I actually like the fact that, you know, we're going to go into the game against Leinster talking about Pollock and Van der Fleer and these things that Biggs has mentioned there. The fact that we can analyse this game, right? And we can be like, right, okay, the forwards were good. Hendy went off injured. There's some other headlines. But actually, when it's all said and done, we want to get to the point where we're talking about one kid, you know? Like, that's what. But go on, you go. I don't want to steal your thunder because I know that there's more that's gone into it.
Yeah, I hear you. But I also know, I speak to a few of the Saints lads, and they're like, will you stop fucking talking him up? He's painful when everyone gives him the big up. But he is bloody good, right? And you have to talk about him. And a talent is putting yourself in the position to get these walk-in tries, right? And we'll come on to Chris Ashton a bit later on because he's lost his record. Damien Penaud has nicked his record of most tries in the tournament. But it's a talent to be on the end of stuff. It's the talent to read the game, to see that Alex Mitchell's going to pump and go and make the little break down the short side, and then you're on the outside finishing it off. It's a talent picking lines where they actually do look like easy run-ins because of other people's work, but you have to be in those positions. I'm happy to talk him up, but what he did do was get absolutely sat down by Louis Lebrun, Lafay half, and I thought, oh my God, his knee's gone or something. Oh no, he got winded by a 10. He waited for the cameras to be on him. He's sucking in the big ones. The crowd are cheering. I'm like, get up, son. You got sat down by a 10. So I gave him a bit of stick on comms, which was good fun. But he's a great player. You know, he's going to get pats on the back. He's going to get it slightly wrong. He's going to have people go after him. But I'm excited by seeing how good he is and where he can get to.
I think he'll learn as well. Like, he probably, when he gets a little bit older as well, when you get hit by a 10, I mean, I'm not quite sure me or you would have done that to him, Goody, but
no chance.
You have to sort of learn then a little bit. Okay, maybe just front it up because the boys are going to rinse him, aren't they? This morning they would have rinsed him for that, and he's a type of character. But what I loved about it, the camera was panning around the ground, and you were there, Goody. But like, how many people had like the headband on? You know what I mean? The headband around the head, sort of dressing up. But he's sort of like, he's becoming a bit of a cult hero there, which is ridiculous at the age of, what is it, 20?
At the age of 20.
Yeah.
And I think we also have to be careful as well, because he's burst on the scene. And you know what it's like. It's almost the easy part is bursting on the scene. It's how do you stay there, and how do the greats of the game, how do you do it year after year after year after year and continually challenge and keep going. So look, he's only 20. He's had a brilliant start to his career. He looks the real deal. But I think, yeah, like, let's just leave him. Let's leave him do his thing. But let's not get too high on him when he is high. And let's not get too down on him for the stuff that maybe people don't like, or if he does have a bad game and things like that. Let's just leave him do his thing, because he's clearly got talent.
100%. 100%. Talking one negative, though, I'm just going to say it real quick. Andrea Piardi, the ref, absolute stinker. He ain't good enough to be reffing, in my opinion, the quarterfinal of the Investec Champions Cup. But it didn't affect the result, but I just thought I'd say it anyway for a bit of fun. No, this is me.
What did he say? That he wasn't in the try-scoring act? Was it? That was fun,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I mean, you look at, there was a penalty try given for Connacht for exactly the same thing on the weekend in the quarterfinal of the Challenge Cup by an English ref, Christoph Ridley. And then Andre Piardi's like, no, he is no close, he's no scoring, not in the act of scoring, no try. He's about to score and he's got belted in the head, but it didn't affect Saints and they deservedly got the big victory.
Jim mentioned it there. It was a shame to see George Hendy go off, who's a class player. Really like watching him. But it's good to see Furbank back. But then he went off early as well, didn't he? Have you heard anything about Furbank? Was it just precautionary, or was there something more there? Because it looked to be arm, shoulder type area.
Yeah, I think, well, he took a short line for his try. And he's obviously come back. It's great to see him back. But he's wearing the big shin pad on his forearm that he broke, and he didn't shy away. He's a player that doesn't shy away from anything. Like Furbank, and we know him a little bit, don't we, Jim? You know, he's a lovely kid, but he punches way above his weight from the physical point of view, and he was throwing himself into everything. And I don't know whether he's just taken another bang on it, but he was carrying it for quite a while, but just kept going. And then the worst thing that can happen is Papali'i breaks through, and you're the only man at the back, and he ends up making a tackle with one arm, dives in the spokes with his legs, and saves Saints a try probably. But yeah, hopefully he's not too bad.
I think it is just precaution from reading between the lines, but it's great to see him back, isn't it? Because he's sort of he just launches counter-attack opportunities, brings the ball back with intent, and gets people on their feet as well. And with everyone else he's got around him, it's great, and maybe not too late. I think he probably needed a Six Nations in him to have a shout of going on tour. But, a couple of big performances may well propel him into it.
Do you reckon the Saints lads have been practicing them celebrations?
I mean, you'd hope so, because with Tommy Freeman's lawnmower, I mean, that could go horribly wrong, couldn't it?
I liked it.
Yeah, I loved it, but if you have to practice that, I don't imagine you just think, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw the ball on the floor, make sure it rolls that way, and then pull out the handlebars as if I'm mowing the lawn. I'm loving celebrations. Should have done it years and years ago. Every other sport does it. I remember recently, earlier on in the season, where Thomas Williams for Gloucester, where he scored a try, and the Shearer celebration was open, ready for him. He had his hand in the air for about 0.5 seconds, and I was like, you go, son, get that hand in the air and run down the touchline. It's ready-made.
Nicky Gonniver did that.
Yeah, Nicky Gonniver did it. Yeah,
when Nicky Gonniver did it, when the Falcons
St
played
James's Park.
St James's Park. Yeah, that was class.
Yeah, but I enjoyed Pollock's as well when he smashed the ball on the floor, and Chandler Cunningham South when he did the freeze against Australia. These lads want to do it right, and I think the Northampton lads, young English lads, are opening the door now to do it. And these are the things, right? If you look again, you want to build social following, you want to build interest in the game. You've got great athletes, one of the toughest sports in the world. They need to be celebrating these things, and I think we're starting to see the effects, the cause and the effects of doing that. You've got to play well, you've got to score tries, but there's some brilliant tries that are scored, right, in massive jeopardy moments. And I know that this game wasn't, because it was a comfortable win, but yeah, you just think of games gone past when there's been such big tries, like scored. Like, I remember Chris Ashton when he did the Ash Blast. Was it against Australia where he scored from his own half?
Yeah.
Massive, wasn't it?
Massive. It was massive, and it was great, and yeah.
We need more of it, is what we're saying, right? We need more celebrations. We need more fun. So, lads, get creative. Jim, ex-creative director of World Rugby, you can help these lads out.
Who did the best one?
Who's had the best one?
Razor's breakdancing, I always liked, whenever they won the Super Rugby.
Yeah, but that was the aftermath.
Yeah, that's at the end. That's the aftermath, yeah.
That's the aftermath. But doing that, if he did that mid, like, if he's one of the French coaches on the side of the pitch, it keeps panning to them. Like, if someone scores a try and then you coach, you go over to your coach and then you all hit the deck and start breakdancing. That's where we need to level up. Leo Cullen. We need to get Leo Cullen to do that.
Any of the French boys just got to spark up a cigarette on the side of the pitch.
That'd be so cool. Imagine just whipping that out from your stinky cycling shorts.
And a little black coffee, just an espresso and a cigarette.
There's so much that could be done to actually, like, we're talking about bringing in culture to the game. Like that, bring out a cigarette. Like Roman Intermac or Jali Banter, you're a bit loose. Right, get your top off, get the cigarette in your mouth and light it up mid-game. We'll look cool as fuck.
Yeah, I remember Nick Easter did it at the Prem final. He pulled a cigar out of his sock, didn't he, at the end and lit it on the pitch. But
here we go.
There's no smoking in stadiums anywhere. What else was good? Felipe Contempone's one was pretty good when he ran up and started clapping, sat down
into the crowd.
Yeah, Chris Ashton followed that a couple of years ago, didn't he, as well?
I remember Rory Hutchinson during COVID in the empty stadiums did a good one. He sort of scored and then imaginally shook everybody's hand in the crowd type of thing, which was quite good. So that was quite cool as well.
Yeah, we're back in the boys. We want more.
Van der Merwe from the South African Lions, he likes a celebration. Have you seen some of his?
No.
Yeah, he does like breakdancing. He does a gritty as well. He's got a few good ones.
Yeah,
I like him then. I do like it. I've seen a couple of his. Writes checks. He writes checks as well, doesn't he? So keep your eye on that. More of that, please, lads. Let's get more talking points around try celebrations. And if you're a DOR, a head coach, and you're a bit reserved, fuck it. Let them do it, lads. Let them have fun.
Yeah. Well, and also Rob, I asked him to clip a load up, but he said he was busy with clipping last week for Big, so he didn't clip them up. But we will be making a compilation of best celebrations over the next few weeks. So actually, lads, if you listen to this, I know a few of the players listen to it, get your celebrations out, right? And we will rate them. Okay, so at the minute, from the weekend's one, best celebration, I did like the lawnmower. Technical. That's a technical celebration in my... Yeah, Tommy Freeman.
Yeah, it was planned and everything. Well, talking about celebrations then and interactions and doing stuff on the pitch, Let's go over to Bordeaux and Ben Tamifuna giving the big one to the Munster crowd. Did you see that? He's giving them the hand behind the ear and he's pointing at the scoreboard and all this stuff, which was good fun. He couldn't breathe, mind, but all because he took a bit of a dive when he got hit in the head and was trying to get a player binned. But Bordeaux 47, Munster 29. It looked like Munster were coming back. In the first half, it looked like they were dead and buried. And they'd emptied the tank the week before in La Rochelle, but they came back in the second half. Bordeaux were down to 13, and it was just like, it could happen. It could happen. But Bordeaux got a final try and pulled away at the end, but decent ding-dong that.
If there's one team probably in club rugby, even more so probably than Toulouse and Leinster, who you don't want to be loose against and have lots of transition periods and your line out not function, it's probably Bordeaux in Bordeaux. And I just thought Munster didn't really give themselves a chance after that opening 20 minutes. They went 19-0 down and then 28-3 was it, or 26-3, whatever it was. And ultimately, this Bordeaux team, they don't actually keep the ball that well in terms of like, they don't punish you like a Leinster where they go phase after phase after phase and then just grind you down. This is a team that want to get after you after 3 or 4 phases quick. They want Penaud on the ball. They want Jalibert on the ball. They don't want to be sort of wasting a load of energy. They want to be making sure the balls move quickly in transition. But I do think as soon as sort of Munster got a little bit of possession and challenged them a little bit, they're not a team who want to defend either. They want the ball in their hand. They want to be spraying passes. They want to be chipping over the top, etc., etc. But ultimately, when you go there and you line out, was it eight lineouts they lost?
8 out of 21. Jim, get in there and coach, lad.
2-step lob, mate.
When you lose 8 out of 21 lineouts against a team who absolutely love transition rugby, and then you're going to be up against it. And we've all played in those games, boys, as well, haven't we? Where you're well beat on the scoreboard and you make a few subs. Bordeaux take their foot off the gas a little bit. Munster came off. Well, Conor Murray looked really good actually coming on and playing some excellent rugby when he came on, to be fair. But I mean, the game was gone a little bit. Yes, they gave him a bit of a scare, but I thought that Bordeaux were well worthy winners. I actually thought Luku had another brilliant game. I wasn't absolutely convinced on him last year after the Six Nations. He came under a bit of heat, didn't he? But his finish to the Six Nations, guiding this Bordeaux team around, he's sort of like that little bit of the glue around all the looseness of your Biel Barrets, your Penauds, your Jaliberts, and the guys alike. So I thought he was excellent again.
Biggs, what's that bloke shouting before the Toulon games? The Pilau, is it? What is that?
Pilau, yeah. So basically, it's like
yeah, but just on that, Rob, hang on. So you're asking Biggs who the Pilau guy is, yet you've posted something on social media just for likes and interaction, and you don't even know who the dude is.
That was the Champions Cup.
And then you've called it the Pilau. Mate, it's Pilau rice, mate. It's not Pilau.
Pilau rice.
Pilau rice that
That's how we say it in
curry.
Stockton.
In Stockton, yeah, the Pilau. So it's basically like a cry from the guys who are up the guys who are up in the mountains to come down to the sea and sort of go to war type of thing, really. So that the guy comes on before every home match. And this is actually the guy who they had.
Brought them back, haven't they?
He's the OG.
Yeah, when
he's the original OG
from the years where they won it back to back to back. Because the guy who did it after him sort of retired midway through this season, so they brought him back. So that's sort of just to rev the crowd up a little bit. I will say there was some atmosphere in that stadium before, during, after the game on Sunday. I mean, it absolutely pissed it down. You'd never have known, like you said, Jim. You'd never have known you were in the south of France. But I did think Toulouse were the better team. They had 2 tries disallowed. They missed. We were on the sideline and we were sort of saying when that last kick was being lined up by Tomo Ramos. And we said, when have you ever seen Tomo Ramos miss 4 kicks in a game?
No.
And you think, for him to miss 3 is almost unheard of. But I thought as soon as he lined up that last one, I thought there's no way he's missing 4 in an important match. And Miafu was unbelievable. Just goes to show raw power. And it was actually quite interesting for all the power players, star talent that they've got to lose. they won that game by kicking the absolute leather off it in that last 15, 20 minutes. And it's always quite interesting in games like that. It's the team that makes the least errors, and you can say it's negative or it's attritional, whatever word you want to use. But in those conditions, in knockout rugby or big matches, if the team that makes the least errors normally end up winning, and that's what Toulouse did. I thought they just kicked the leather off it the last 15, 20 minutes, played all the rugby in the right areas of the pitch, and ultimately got enough chances to just about get over the line. And I think they'll be a huge amount better. I think they'll be a lot better than that in a couple of weeks' time as well.
Yeah, just one shout out as well, just to our English South African audiences. David Ribbons, I thought, was brilliant again. Like, I had a few loose interactions with him. England are lacking a big, powerful, kind of old school lock, and he's been really impressive since he's been at your place, Biggs.
Skips as well, isn't he?
Yeah, took over the captaincy from when Olivon did his ACL earlier in the year. He's been really good, just powerful, churning out performances, playing a lot of minutes, which is important in France for big forwards like him. So he's been great. He's done a really good job. The banter in the WhatsApp group has had to calm down a little bit since he's been made captain, but we'll try and pick it back up a little bit later on and things. But no, he's been excellent, fair play, and I think he's one of those that maybe could have had a bit of an outside shot at the Lions, but I think probably someone like Dave and your Furbanks and boys like that maybe will have to be playing in probably Champions Cup finals and being outstanding in their position, given that they're probably going to miss, especially the boys in France, miss the first couple of weeks of tour as well. But he's been excellent, fair play.
Good shout that as an outsider.
Yeah. Has anyone, just lastly for me then, Biggs, on that game, has anyone dared say anything to Gabin Villiers yet? Because he looks like a feisty mofo. And he obviously drops the seed at the end. And also, the other point on it, you got two of the best goal kickers in the world, as you said there. Ramos slots the winning kick after having a stinker. But Melvin Jaminet come back after his ban for his kind of racist attack in the summer. Where's his hair gone? The stress has just killed his hairline off. He's gone thinner than thin.
Well, that's called karma, Andrew. So that's any man that goes bold like yourself, Rob, with a bit of mange as well. There's karma in there. All right, look at me and Biggs. No karma here.
Show us the penalty spot, Jim.
Oh, no, there's nothing there, mate.
He's honestly, he's in ridiculous nick, which boys are saying, how's he in such good nick? Well, he had 6 months off where he had 4 weeks on, 1 week off, basically just training and getting fit and strong and quick, but can hit the ball. Honestly, Goody, you wouldn't believe it. He can hit the ball country mile. Honestly, an absolute mile, which is a huge weapon to have. So yeah, he's been great. But I think as well, Goody, like you'll know this really, really well. There's not many goal kickers who could have done what Ramos did off the back of missing 3 yesterday. You know what it's like when you miss 1, you miss 2, the pressure on that next one. But the very, very best are able to really, when it matters, sort of come to the fore. And I think, you look at someone like him, like a Wilkinson, a Carter maybe in that area.
And Andy Goode.
I thought that was an Andy Goode, yeah, absolutely. And Andy Biggar. But seriously,
I'd have probably done it with my left, to be fair. I'd stuck it down with the left peg.
All right, lads, stop talking yourself up anyway. Yeah, let's stop talking yourself up now because there's some other news that we need to go through. So in other news, lads.
There's some what?
Other news. In other news.
In other news.
In other news, let's hear you, Biggs. Come on.
In other news.
That was shit.
Nice.
That was
nice.
shit.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. We'll warm you into that because it's a work in progress. But you can answer the question then. Cardiff administration, Wales, because they've got loads of money, spending £50,000 on flowers, are bailing them out. Give us a kind of quick snapshot of what you're hearing. I suppose we don't want to stick the knife in. It ain't good.
Who's spending 50 grand on flowers?
Well, not me for Valentine's Day, that's for sure.
Well, daffodils are expensive, Andrew, because they are a delicacy in Wales now.
But it's really worrying times, isn't it? I think from what I can gather is that the Cardiff were owed a fair bit of money from a sponsorship deal which kept promising to come through and never came through. And ultimately the union have had to sort of step in, guaranteed everyone's sort of contracts and everything for the staff and players for the next couple of years. But ultimately, I think from what I could gather as well, that it would have cost the union more money to have let them go by the wayside, in terms of having to fulfill 4 teams in the URC for TV rights and break of clause and things like that. So, look, there's still a fair amount to work through, but I think ultimately that they had money which was promised, which never came in, and the union have had to step in and bail them out. So it's it's really tough times, isn't it? And then there's a director of rugby still to be employed. There's a head coach still to be employed, and
on that, Biggs, Matt Sherratt now, he's gone back to Cardiff, and we said it kind of felt and looked right until they got absolutely hosed by England in the last game. But Matt Sherratt now, what does he do? Who's he employed by? The WRU? Is he employed by Cardiff? Is he he should just take that Wales head coach's job and try and build that young team up over the next few years, I'd say. But what a mess in Wales. Who'd be Welsh?
Well, I know, yeah. But Tandy's flip-flop, Steve Tandy's name's been thrown in there as well. So
here's one. Dave Redding, director of rugby, when he was S&C coach. And I know he's done bits in other sports, but director of rugby, and he's high performance, and his background is S&C and cycling and various different bits. I mean, get rugby people doing it.
He was with England in 2003, wasn't he? Goody,
S&C coach. Absolutely hated me. Hated me, head of S&C.
Oh, here we go. So now, Biggs, now we're digging under why he's saying it
man.
then.
No, yeah, but he's a very good man, and he was very good at what he did from an S&C perspective. But we're talking about director of rugby here.
I think what I will say is he was obviously part of that 2003 team. He obviously did well with British cycling, did a really good job there. And then obviously with the FA as well, working alongside sort of Gareth Southgate as well. So his CV is pretty impressive. Now look, who knows if it's the right appointment or not? Time will only tell whether that's right or not. But from a CV point of view and working alongside and getting results out of the organisations he's in, then his CV is pretty good, and you'd have to say looks a decent appointment on paper.
But I just question the role of a director of rugby when you've not worked in rugby for 20 odd years. That's just my take on it. But he's a brilliant man, and I'm, if he was high performance or something along that line, but it says director of rugby, and I'm like, I
think the director of rugby will be very much sort of looking at the programs, the systems, the high performance. How do they achieve high performance? And I think that'll be something that he'll be looking at, and he'll be working with the coach and the pathways, etc., to try and unlock that.
Jim, what else you got for us in other news?
Well, it's not just me, it's all of us that are across it. And you lads, again, better place than me to talk about this next one, because Jack Crowley has ended the speculation about his future, specifically on going to Leicester. I know that they offered him a bumper contract, and he signed a 2-year contract extension with Munster. So brilliant for Munster, brilliant for Ireland, shows the integrity of the man, and also the fight that I don't know how much Munster are paying him, right? I wish I did. I think we should all know. It'd be good for us to be able to compare and contrast contracts and stuff like that, like other sports do. But anyway, he's shown loyalty to his team at a time where he might be a little bit annoyed about how things have gone playing for Ireland. So good on Jack Crowley.
I think it's the best place for him to stay at Munster. Try and challenge Prendergast. Okay, Prendergast now is probably seen as the man to everyone outside of people from Munster. But Jack Crowley's performances over the last couple of weeks, you want to go to the next World Cup in 27. You don't go and sign for Leicester. I'd love to have seen him in a Leicester jersey because they need a Big 10 for next year. Maybe Biggs will come out of retirement and play for Leicester. But I think it's the right place for Jack Crowley to continue for a couple of years and then go and get a big payday somewhere post 2027 World Cup.
You like him, Goody, don't you?
Yeah, big fan of Jack Crowley. Yeah. Big fan.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a really good player. I think he's been almost unlucky to be in Sam Prendergast's sort of time in this Six Nations, isn't it? It's just that he's hit his straps playing in that Leinster team, guiding Ireland and Leinster well. But big fan of his as well. Yeah,
the way he's conducted himself as well. And I don't know the undercurrent of how he is at training, but when he's come on and the performances he's put in and under the pressure and the scrutiny of the media and everything like that, it just seems like a brilliant bloke. So big shout out to Jack Crowley, re-signing at Munster.
Bath on for 3 trophies this year. They've done the Prem Cup, which I know you lads love. On for the Prem Challenge Cup. Well,
they're going to Edinburgh, and what I will say, I've got a good mate of mine. I'm going to name him Josh Jackson, who's a big Bath fan. He's also a Wales fan as well, so he's got both ends of the spectrum at the minute. He's talking about we're going to do the treble. That ain't the treble, pal. Winning the Prem Cup And then the Challenge Cup, that ain't the treble. They are the two Mickey Mouse out of all 5 that you can play for.
With all due respect, yeah. And that sounds harsh, right? And it does. And Bath might be looking at it as the treble. They might be selling that on any marketing stuff that they put out. But I see Bath now with the squad that they've got, that they're better than that. Right, Andrew, you are our, I was going to say pitchside reporter. You're the man in the mixer of all the Champions Cup, not the Challenge Cup. You might get demoted, actually, for the knockout stages for the Challenge Cup. I don't know how it's all going to work. You were very good on commentary at the weekend. What I'm saying, give us an idea of who's in the semis and stuff like that for the Challenge and the Champions Cup. I know, but tell the masses.
Yeah, Champions Cup semi-finals, as we've spoken about, straightforward. Leinster against Northampton on the Saturday at the Aviva. And then on the Sunday, Bordeaux take on Toulouse down in Bordeaux at the big football stadium. But the Challenge Cup, we saw a couple of away victories in the quarterfinal stage. Shout out to Lyon, who beat the Ospreys 20 points to 18. Sorry, Biggs. And also Racing. Racing have come back now. Lanny's gone. There's a bit of an uptick. Faz is fit. Could have been sent off. Got a yellow card.
His lad's played. You said his lad was
Lanny
was
played
poor.
really well. No, he was under his. He was when he was playing for his dad, but he's come good now. So anyway, Racing beat Connacht away from home. Bath absolutely trounced Gloucester 61 points to 26. And Edinburgh, Jim, your team, put paid to the Bulls, who are having a good season. And that was a big victory for them. So semi-finals, Edinburgh against Bath at the Hive Stadium. And Lyon take on Racing, an all-French semi-final in the Challenge Cup at the Matmut Stadium de Geelong. So we'll see who comes out of that.
Right, lads, should we finish things off with the good, the bad and the ugly?
Yeah, let's. Loads of good to talk about. We're going to start off. We've been talking a lot of Champions Cup and Challenge Cup rugby. So we're going to start off in Super Rugby, and the Crusaders are getting a shout out. We absolutely battered them at times last year for being so poor, but they are back on top of the Super Rugby table after beating the Hurricanes at the weekend. And fair play to them. The big boys are back. The Crusaders are back at the top of the Super Rugby table at the minute after 9 rounds. So big shout out to them. Talking about Super Rugby, take a minute, Google this, find the try. Basically, the Waratahs have scored a try from a turnover, 100-metre try against the Chiefs. The handling, Suwahili, he puts an offload inside, and then Crichton puts another offload over his head. They've gone coast to coast. Wilson finishes it off. It was an absolute worldie of a try. So shout out to the Tars and that try specifically by Wilson. 100-metre effort by the team. So good from them. Damien Penaud gets a mention in the Goode. I mentioned him earlier. He's broken Chris Ashton's record and has now scored 12 tries in the Champions Cup this season. So he's got most tries in a season. So I'm glad Ashley's lost that record. I gave him a little head rub because he was doing BBC on Saturday saying unlucky son. But he wasn't bothered because he's had his new teeth done. So Damien Penaud gets a shout out in the Goode for that. Saints get a shout out in the Goode as well. Back-to-back semi-finalists after beating Cast and putting 50 on them. Leinster get a shout out in the Goode. Of course they do. Jordie Barrett specifically. They're 52-0 spanking of Glasgow and look big favourites for the competition. But the Goode is going to be a bit of a weird one this week, and I absolutely loved it. You talk about try celebrations. The Goode this week is going to Curtis Langdon for some of the best shithousery you have ever seen on a rugby field. And mainly because if it happened to me, I'd have cried. Bit of a kerfuffle kicks off. Curtis Langdon is going around lifting jerseys, shirt lifting, pulling lads' bellies out and then grabbing the skin. So it made me absolutely cry with laughter on TV. So Curtis Langdon, I've messaged him to say, mate, more of that, please. It was outstanding.
Andrew, just on that though, like the Cast boys, you're doing it because they're carb monsters. They love the carbs, right? So you're seeing a few flaps. The Leinster boys, you ain't seeing. Hey, there ain't many carbs happening there.
No. So good luck to Curtis Langdon doing that against Leinster. But Curtis Langdon for his shithousery, that's why you're going to get the Goode this week. I loved it. Then the bad, few bits of bad. We'll rattle through them quickly. Glasgow taking 50. Over in Leinster. Cast taking 50 at Northampton. So many arms going around. Cardiff getting placed into temporary administration, and the shit show that is Welsh rugby at times gets mentioned in the bad. But the bad this week, James, goes to our old mate, Steve Diamond. Have you heard about him? He's got a 6-week ban
I've
for
read about
abusing match officials. It's not a disgrace. You cannot go and abuse match officials in the way that Steve Diamond has.
He was right. He was bang on.
He made a decent point about the ref getting it wrong, but not in that manner, Steve Diamond. 6-week ban. You've got previous as well. So, Steve Diamond, you are winning the bad this week for abusing match referees and match officials and getting a 6-week ban because of it. And then the ugly, 2 bits of ugly. Cyril Cazot, he ended up getting a red card, 2 yellows effectively for Bordeaux for 2 dangerous hits. But the ugly this week,
second one was a bit. The second one was a bit harsh.
Well, it's yellow,
but it was
isn't
a yellow card. But I know, but but it was a seatbelt kind of. Anyway, go on, you go.
Yeah. So the ugly this week goes to Wame Naituvi of Racing. He got red carded for a head-on-head tackle on Finn Treacy in the act of scoring, and rightly so. He was red carded. Swede to the Swede. And Christoph Ridley gives a red card and a penalty try. So that's why Wame Naituvi wins the ugly this week. And just to mention this, James, we talk about Rob, who spent all last week doing clips of Biggs and didn't have time for anything else. He's called Naituvi Nairobi on the run sheet as well. So, Rob, sort yourself out, lad. Mate, put some effort into someone else but Biggs.
Hey, he's dreaming of travelling to Kenya. He wants to broaden his horizon. So, Rob, I'm feeling Nairobi, mate. It's a great place. I've been a couple of times.
Blame the autocorrect. Right, lads, shout out to finish.
Yeah, firstly, a shout out to Reading RFC, who desperately need your help as their 127-year-old club is facing possible closure. They need to raise £155,000 by the end of April in order to replace their clubhouse roof after asbestos was found. So they're a proper community club, full of good people, load of minis, juniors, 3 men's teams, vets, walking rugby, and growing the ladies and girls section as well. So any support and donations would mean the world to everyone at Reading Rugby Club. Just search readingrugby.club. Good luck, guys. Hope we can manage to raise as much as possible. And Rob said he's going to donate a shitload as well because he's minted at the minute.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. And there's also 14 runners doing the Leeds Marathon for Ed, which is my good friend Ed Slater, who, as we know, has motor neurons disease. So people doing great things. They're looking to raise £30,000. So if you can have a look at the 4Ed socials and give generously and support, obviously a fantastic cause.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. I need to give a shout out to a mate of mine, actually, Alexander Cox, who started a non-profit company called Coffee for Cancer, whose mission is to fight cancer 1 cup at a time. He's done this outside his day job as a cancer care lead in the NHS as a legacy to his father-in-law and aunt who have passed away over the last few years. They donate 100% of their profits to Pancreatic Cancer UK and Ovarian Cancer Action. An incredible cause, so please head to coffeeforcancer.co.uk and make your coffee count.
Yeah, that's a massive one as well, isn't it? That's a huge one. So good luck and get ordering coffee. Jim, you like coffee. We'll order some from there, I think.
I do like coffee. Coffee's not great in America, to be honest with you. Yeah,
is it not
great?
There we go.
No, not great. But
I've got another shout out as well, and this goes to everyone at Hong Kong Football Club, the home of the world's best tens, Jim. They're seeking a full-time director of rugby operations, where the role involves overseeing all 10 adult rugby teams and managing a youth program as well, with 1,100 young players. So it's a big job, but they need someone and are advertising this role to be full-time DOR. So have a look at HKFC Rugby on Instagram. And if you're in the Hong Kong area, it's an unbelievable place. Great club, great people. Get yourself involved.
yeah, I might look at that now I've left my job.
There you go, Jim.
Do I need a job? I don't know. Do I need a job?
Nah,
I don't need any more travel. So it's not for me. It's not for me.
And to finish up, lads, a shout out to Mark Patterson and Felix Stowe under-16s, county champs, festival winners, sports team of the year, and the most successful side in the club's history. Class team, class journey, and are all big fans of the pod. Well done, lads. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Top
well
stuff.
done. And a big thank you to all the shout-outs that come in. We absolutely love them. But a big shout-out to all the listeners, as always. The great Andrew Goode in Dubai. Daniel
Thank you,
Biggar
James.
on a fantastic career in Toulon. And Rob, can you just confirm, are you in your mum's bedroom this week or not? Because you got a rap on the wrist by the owner, Fred. Where are you?
I'm in the same bedroom. I've just turned the camera facing the other way.
And a shout out to you as well, Jim, over in Austin, Texas, doing your thing with the fam, but still rocking up for the Rugby Pod. So thanks, everyone.
There we go.
Make sure you check out all our socials, but most importantly, make sure you subscribed on Spotify.
Spotify.
That's the one. That a boy. Rugby Spod.
Spotted pod.